Great. It's 1 p.m. Good afternoon, everyone. And for those of you watching on YouTube or anywhere else, this is episode 4 of Let's Meet on Twitch. And for those who don't know me, my name is Dean, and I will be the host. And I have a special guest here, and his name is Mr. Hutchinson Boyd. Hi, Hutchinson. Mr. Hutchinson, how are you?
I'm doing well. Should I give an introduction?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. So I am the CEO of Black Maverick Publishing. We are a small publishing house that focuses on helping new authors to produce works that otherwise would not be seen or heard from. So that's something that's very passionate. I'm very passionate about. On the side, I also teach creative writing to children in different programs. I'm working with 2 schools right now, and we'll be working with the YMCA very soon to do the same thing. I've won many awards. Won specific awards for my book, Devoyant, which we'll talk about in a little while. But
It's actually
I've
on for the
published,
viewers to watch. I actually have the
yeah,
slide
yeah,
now that shows Devoyant. It's
yeah.
book 1, The Forgotten Hero Rises.
Yes, I've won awards for Devoyance and also helped other authors to publish their works and get hundreds of sales. So happy to meet all of you and answer any questions you have, Dean.
Also, you're the host of the Black Maverick Talks podcast on
Oh yes,
YouTube.
yes. The Black Maverick Talks podcast. Myself and my co-host Edward Boydo, we speak about sci-fi topics, all things sci-fi. So books, movies, shows, and we just really dive in and give our opinions on it.
See how amazing you are? I love
Thank
you.
you,
I love you so much. Oh my goodness.
thank you, thank you,
So I'm very, very, very excited. It's really an honor. It really is.
thank
So
you, thank you. It's an honor to be here.
yeah. So I wanted to start off. How did you get into comics?
I've been making comic books since I could pick up a pencil. Honestly, when
Wow.
I was a little kid, I remember the first comics that I did were my own stories of Batman and Robin because I used to watch, Batman the animated series a lot. So I would draw little Batman and Robin comics. Maybe they're chasing after the Joker, or they got trapped by the Penguin and they're escaping and fighting the bad guy. And for me, that was just super exciting because I was recreating something that I found a really strong passion with as a kid. My mom was a huge Batman fan. Her generation watched the what was it? What was it again? Like the one from the '60s. So this was the Batman that was actually friendly, right? He wasn't scary or anything like that. Um, and I watched those shows, read the comics, and pretty much just put all that on the paper. But you go to school, went to elementary school, went to high school, didn't do a whole lot of drawing. It wasn't until I got into college that I started back with drawing again. And I started to draw my own comics and
Mhm.
help my friends that were writers and wanted to be authors one day. I would draw the comics for them as well. Pardon any noise in the background. I am traveling at the moment, but back to the comics. So like I said, I had friends that were writers. They wanted to be authors, and we just had this idea. Like, hey, let's make some comic books. Hutch likes to draw. We like to tell stories. Let's do that. And it was a fun idea. I wish I had actually started it then, but life takes its own turn. Sometimes you have to go with it. I went to school for engineering technology. That was an interesting experience, and during the time when I was in college, that's when that spark really ignited again. It ignited my passions for drawing. So when I graduated college, I didn't go into my field. Instead, I started to do more art related things, draw comic books for other people, and I wanted to help them publish their works, but I wanted to try it myself first because that's just how I am. I always want to try out something first before I help someone else do it, so that I can go through the process, figure out where the shortcomings are, where the bottlenecks are, and that's what I did with Devoyant. I just didn't realize Devoyant would be a successful book. It was a passion project, but it was also an experiment for me. So yeah, I guess you can ask questions about Devoyant and what that was like.
I wanted to bring up something because it actually reminded me of a quote. The quote that I remembered was, uh, when it was something about opportunity, and the you only miss an opportunity if you don't even try. So, even if you try, it's not considered failure. It's only failure if you don't even take that step. So, when you take that step, you never know. You know, and I just want to say that, I want to tell you great job on what you do, and thank you for what you do, because that inspires a lot of people, especially in the POC. I mean, in the freaking American community. I know there's some underrepresentation there, and I want to see more of that. I want to see where everyone's represented, especially in your area, because with that, I think that when other people, in your group, when they see your work, they get more inspired and they can do what they want to do. And it's a great thing what you're doing, and I really appreciate it, even though it could be just a test thing. That passion, that's really, that's, I don't even see, I get a little choked up about it because I'm really happy for what you do, and I'm really proud of what you do. So, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, thank you. It started out as an experiment, but it didn't. It obviously didn't end that way. That's not what it is anymore. Now it's something more focused. When you write a book, I tell my authors now that when they write books, that they should think about what the book is supposed to do. Think about the book's purpose. Think about the story's purpose, right? But when I was writing my book, this is the first book I ever officially wrote. I didn't think about a purpose. I had a talk with my family. They came to me because they saw that I was drawing comics for other people, and they said, "Hey, listen, we want to make a comic too. We just want to make a book, and we want it to be family oriented, and include the family, like my family." And I said, "Okay, we could try that." I told my parents, "You guys can write the story, and I'll draw it." And they never wrote the story
Oh,
because
wow.
writing is hard. Writing is really hard. But what ended up happening was, I was waiting on them, waiting on them, waiting on them, and I said, "You know what? I'll just do it myself. I'm going to take the initiative and just write it myself." And I had this world that I had created back in high school, and this would be the world of Devoyant, right? But this was before the character Devoyant existed. It was just a world that was dystopian and full of demons, and everybody was trying to survive, and there was a huge separation there. But when I was trying to figure out what the main character could be, who could it be, the first thought was my brother Darren. He was my superhero growing up because we were both bullied really badly, and he got the brunt of it. He did, because what he did was he stood in front. He's my older brother, only by a year and a half, but because he had special needs, he has autism, he has other difficulties that he struggled with. He was often misunderstood. Back then, they didn't have really good words for people with any form of disability or special need. They weren't even called special needs. You know, they were just called retarded. And it's such a messed up slur to call someone that, but
It really
that's what
is.
that's what teachers were calling kids, right? So they labeled him as mentally retarded at that time, but he was able to show that that wasn't the case. He just didn't like to talk to people that he felt didn't have his best interest at hand. But when he was around people that he felt safe with, he spoke very clearly. He was a good reader. He liked to write, and all of those passions really shined through. But anyways, the bullying was an issue, serious issue. And even through all of it, I don't remember Darren ever going into some sort of depressive stage. He was always really positive and super protective of me and really anyone that he cared about. So he was like a superhero without the superpowers, right? So to me, it was only natural to make him the main character of a story that needed a hero like that, needed someone that would always stay positive regardless of what was going on. and there was a lot going on in this world I created, and it just fit. It just fit. So when I made the character, I brought it to my family, and they were just like, "Wow, this is amazing. We would have never thought of this. This is perfect." And we had to sit down and come up with a name, and we could talk about that. But after we came up with the name and everything, we put it out. The book in and of itself was written, illustrated, and published in less than 1 month. So
Wow.
that you're right, because it was, I had time and I had a lot of passion. I really just wanted to get it done. And by the time it was published, we started reaching out. We were going to malls. We were handing out these ARC copies and these trailer copies to people in the street. It was a lot of marketing put into this. It got put in the right hands, and the senator at the time, he's still currently the senator, Jamal T. Bailey. He caught wind of it. He said, "This is amazing." And he had the Autism March. And this was, I believe, the second year that he was going to be doing it, if not the first. So he set up he set it up where I came and I gave a speech during that march. And the speech that I gave was talking about the voyant and the importance of it. Importance that, I have to be honest with you, I started to realize after it was published, not during the process of making the book. Um, I'll just tell you a short story as an aside, right? So
Yeah,
we
go
have
ahead.
these art copies, these trailer copies. We're giving them out to people, adults. The adults have children with them, and something we noticed was this phenomenon. The children were so entrained by the book. It's a bit of noise. Hold on one sec.
Mhm. Wow. That is that is a lot to take in. And while you're being muted, I just want to say Darren real is an inspiration. I actually feel it, and I can relate to what he had to go through.
I'm sorry to hear that. I know that a lot of people, especially those with any form of disability or just, I wouldn't call it a shortcoming, because
Mhm.
it makes you different, but not bad, or it's not like you're worse. There's just like anyone else. There's things we can and can't do. I just think we tend to hyper focus on people with special needs for some reason. But back to the short story, I noticed that the children were entrained on this book, like hyper focused. And we noticed that the children that were hyper focused on the book specifically were children that we noticed were special needs. We didn't tell them that that's what the book was about, you know, but they picked up the book and there was something about it that they gravitated to. And they would sit and read and read and read and finish the entire first chapter, which is what we were giving out for free. And then they're just looking at you like, where's the rest of it? So, and we realized, okay, we're onto something pretty important here. But
It's
why do
fast.
the children have this reaction to this book? There's so many other books they could read and probably do read. Why is it this book specifically that they're just so interested in? And we realized it's because it was about them. It was representing them, and they were able to see themselves in the characters and finally feel seen or heard. And it's super important. It's super important when you're young, especially to feel like you're seen and heard and understood. So many children are misunderstood in this world in general, and it causes a slew of other problems later on in life when that's the case. So to feel like you're seen, heard, and feel like you're able to read something and see something where there's a positive light being shined on you, it's a great feeling for anyone, really. And I
I
think that's
feel it
why
in my
the kids
heart.
love it. Yeah, man, I think that's why the kids love it. So
I felt it.
we just kept
Wow.
going. There was some success. We won some awards, and it was a super cool journey. And now we're actually trying to publish book three. Trying to publish book three. Yeah,
I didn't see the second one actually. I'm gonna take a look at it afterwards. Yeah.
it's a story that's gonna jerk some tears. It's gonna pull some tears out of you for sure.
Wow. I'm feeling it right now. Whoa.
Yeah,
Uh, I want to bring something up actually. Yesterday I was at it was called Every Mind Matters.
keep in mind that. Okay.
There was a mental health event in Canarsie, Brooklyn that I went to yesterday. I found through Eventbrite, and it was hosted by a barbershop. And
Wow.
I think the big focus was really men, but especially African American men.
Right, right.
So, men, you know about men. We don't like to share a lot of our things because we think it's weak. I mean, for most people, I know for me, it's not weak to share. I think sharing with other people is a big strength because that takes courage to speak up about things that that feels embarrassing. Because when you take that first step, as you take your first step in in your comics career, you know, people will see that and people will say, you know what, if he can do it, I can do it too. Oh, you're still muted.
Yeah, I was muted because people like to play
Oh,
loud music in New York City. But
oh
yeah, I
boy,
totally agree with you.
they're crazy. Okay, so that's so what when you said you want to be heard and understood. I actually spoke to one of the owners of the barber shop who was organizing the mental health event. So I told him, this is what I learned from my experience as an autistic. And we all want to be heard and understood. When we don't get enough of being heard and understood, it just unravels and it gets worse, as just you become a pressure cooker. And we started bonding with him. His name is Shency, Schency. And I'll never forget that conversation I had with him. So I told him my experience. So when I was 17 years old, I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome. So it was under the autism spectrum, but at the time it was called DSM-4TR. It's Diagnostic Statistical Manual. So that's basically the Bible of psychology, basically. And when DSM-5 came out, I believe 2013, if I'm not mistaken. So they got rid of the name, but they put everything under one umbrella. It's called Autism Spectrum Disorder. Now we have DSM-5TR. So in case if anyone wants to order it or wants to go over it. But when you only meet one person with autism, you only met one person with autism because it's a spectrum and everyone has different traits. So when I got diagnosed, I was in denial at first. So I decided, okay, there is a seminar, a 2-day seminar during the weekend from some guy from Australia, and he was able to make it to New York City in 2005 when I was 17. And I went to this seminar. I said, you know what? Wow, I hit all the check marks. And they're like, what? I couldn't believe it. So I said, you know what? At the time I wanted to be a pharmacist. I said, you know what? I'm going to be an autistic pharmacist. All right. I'm going to show people that, for those who are struggling and all that, that they can do it. All right. And I did it. 8 years later, I got my doctor of pharmacy degree from Long Island University, Brooklyn campus. And I'm a
That is
pharmacist
amazing.
for 11 years.
That is amazing.
Thank you. And I'm not saying that there are no struggles. There are struggles along the way. It's so I spoke to this Shensi, the one of the barbers, and I told him the four things. So I told him first important thing. It's not in order to be honest with you, but have a strong support, have a strong foundation. It's very, very important. Have a lot of have strong support with your relatives, your friends, your professionals. The second part is always be heard and understood. All right. The third part is purpose, a drive. All right. In my case, my drive is to be a pharmacist. Now I've hit that. Now I have a mortgage. Now I have to get rid of this mortgage as fast as possible. So, and it could be small or big. You can have multiple ones as long as you're able to handle it. It's important to have that kind of challenge, the kind something that could motivate you because you don't want to be complacent. If you're complacent, you feel too comfortable. I'm not saying don't be comfortable, but don't be too comfortable. That complacent kind, then you're not going to be resilient. You're not going to be prepared for whatever things will hit you, in my opinion. And then the
Yeah.
fourth thing is inside. your inner persistence. Again, this is a theory that I made up that came out of my mouth when I was speaking with the barber yesterday. There was no script. I couldn't believe it. It was just
You're the
wow.
script.
What is it? I'm sorry.
Your life is a testament of what you're saying. So you're the script.
Ah, I didn't think about that. Wow. It was like, and I, so, all these three things lead to this fourth thing, your inner persistence. This one is caused by, that being heard and understood, all right, and a strong support system, and also being heard and understood. My brain's all over the place today. So so what I said about those three things will lead to that. And oh yeah, the challenge, the drive. You need the drive, you need the strong support, you need to be heard and understood. Those are the three things that will lead to that inner persistence to keep going. Because if you don't have that inner persistence to keep going, you feel this worthlessness. There are a lot of people who go through that, and they talked about it yesterday. How some people will have depression and they'll have this hopelessness. And there was one person, he doesn't have autism, but he had he cut himself. He was dealing with substance abuse, and then he was able to get the support, and with that support he was able to get heard, and he was able to be heard and understood. And he hasn't cut himself, I think, for more than 10 years. He's been sober for almost a decade, so almost 10 years as well, from alcohol. And we all clapped. And after that, I asked him, "Can I give you a hug?" And we hugged each other. I told him that you inspired me. That's what I told him. And he couldn't believe it, because I told him my story. And we found out that he graduated from my college 4 years ago with an MBA, Master's of
Wow.
Business. Is it Master of Business? I forgot what the degree is. I just know I
Wow.
got my doctor of pharmacy degree. And I
Yeah, yeah.
told him, great job. And he's working on like tech stuff as well. And also he's working to be like on the side being an actor. So he has his IMDb page. So his name is Pascal. I want to bring up because that I mean I'm getting a little teary eyed, but you know we can we got to support each other, okay, through these tough times. These times are people. How society is going downhill and all that. I'm not going to go into politics for that, but most important thing is to share what we have in common, and it's to share that we all want everyone's lives to be better, and in order to do that, we have to put our difference aside and work together as a team, as one human team. And I think this relates to what you wrote. You didn't put a label on Darren, I don't think. And when the children were reading it, they didn't really see the disorder, but they saw themselves. And I think that's really powerful. Of course, I'm not saying that he doesn't have a disorder. Of course, there is a disorder. I'm just saying.
No,
No,
absolutely.
absolutely.
I didn't put a label on Darren specifically. What I would say is that he and everyone else that is like him in the story, and when I say like him, I don't mean like share his disability. I mean
Right.
living in the same place that he lives, and is going through the same situations. They're all called the forgotten ones, right? But they're just, how could I describe it? They're really just a community of people that the government left behind, and the government left them behind because the bureaucrats, the super wealthy, they felt that these these people in this community were not useful to the new society that they were trying to produce. And that doesn't just include those with special needs, it actually includes those that were impoverished, it includes those that have chronic health conditions. So, myself, being that I have asthma, I would not be in that flying city, Spirit City. If you read the book, you understand where that is. I'd be a forgotten one as well because they would say, well, listen, you can't, your lungs don't work well enough. So, you really are not going to fit in our new society. We need people that are fully healthy, people that are wealthy, and people that have a certain level of intelligence to be here. And it sucks, but that's kind of where the world is going now, isn't it? You know?
Unfortunately, it is. And I'm not white. I'm Filipino. I'm Asian, and
Right,
even some
right.
people say Asian or is like number two after the whites. But again, Asians, as you see in the past few years, we've been attacked as well. I have asthma as well, and I've seen these things, and it kind of reminds me of that algorithm. I call it the algorithm. You hear that word, right?
Right, right. We know what it. Well, for those that don't know what it is, I can break it down.
Yes, go ahead.
Right. So the algorithm is really just a coded system, and that system allows these programs, social media platforms, to filter out the content that they feel should be seen and the content that they feel shouldn't be seen. The issue with the algorithm, right? It's forgetting the one key thing that everybody's voice matters, and is putting certain voices ahead of others for the purpose of getting that platform to make more money. So they're going to put content forward that gets the most reactions, the most views, because that keeps other people on the platform longer, which gets that platform money. They send ads, they get you to buy things, and they can sell your information because they get more people to come on and all those things. So at the end of the day, social media is a business. A lot of us don't realize that. We don't use it that way. We use it as a way to communicate with each other, but it can destroy your self esteem when you're trying to speak and no one's listening, and you just wonder why does no one care? It's not that no one cares, it's that the algorithm doesn't perceive what you're saying as important enough or trending enough to show others. So this system that they created only benefits certain people with certain viewpoints, certain mindsets, and the ability to put out content of a certain genre, a certain type, right? So it's very, very, there's a lot of parameters there. And if you don't fit that parameter, your content doesn't get put out. But that's not
Wow,
really fair because we're all unique, right? So
that's correct.
if they're only allowing a certain group of people to have their content shown, what happens to the other 95% of people that don't get anyone to look at their content? Well, it starts to affect starts to affect your mental health, and that can lead into physical health, that can lead into emotional health and all these other things. So social media, that algorithm, while it was produced to help businesses grow and maintain their audience in the way they want, it isn't good for us as individuals using the platforms.
Wish they have a class for that for social media. I've never seen a class. I'm pretty sure there are now, but I haven't found them yet. There should be a class on how to manage social media. Some people are telling me social media should be like regulated, like as if it's alcohol or smoking. I don't
Absolutely. I agree.
like
I
maybe
agree.
18 or 21 as the
Hmm.
minimum age for social media, and we have people
Hmm.
using social media as young as like in their teens, and there are people who are preteens. They just like rig this. I don't know if it's rig the system's the right word. They'll just fake their age or something.
Yeah, they
I
just
don't
fake
know
it
if I've
or
heard
they
about it.
fake accounts. You
Yes,
know,
correct.
I'll tell you a story about just, before we move on, because it's really serious. You
Yeah, we
touched
can
upon the
actually go
fact that,
further, more than 30 minutes if you want.
oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
We,
we're
you
gonna try
know,
to keep it like 60 as max. So, but we're good. Yeah.
okay, okay. Um, so you spoke on the fact that people that are younger than 18 are using social media. A lot of people don't even realize you have to be 18 years or older to use social media. That's why they ask your age. But they don't go as far as to verify that you're that age. They don't ask for any form of identification, right? So, because they don't ask for identification, there are children that are using these platforms and are not supposed to be on them. Their minds are still developing. They are still learning about themselves and where they fit in this society. And to be on a platform that, again, that algorithm, right? It only puts out a certain type of content. If your mind is developing and you're seeing that the majority of people only like to look at a certain type of thing, you want to be what? You want to be seen, you want to be heard. That's something we all desire. You're going to go on there and you're going to put yourself out there in the same way. Doesn't mean those things are positive. That doesn't mean those things are positive. We don't always look at content creators in a positive light just because they entertain us. There's a sense of there's a level of responsibility that comes with creating content. Kids are not going to understand, and sometimes they can hurt themselves. So you see on platforms like TikTok where all these different challenges were created. Oh, we're gonna do the soap pod challenge. We're gonna eat some soap pods, or we're gonna put some Nyquil on some chicken, and we're gonna cook that and eat that, right?
As a
And you got these kids
pharmacist, oh,
dying, right? Like as a pharmacist, that must be so frustrating, right? So it's like, wow, these kids are doing these challenges for attention because they want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be liked, but they don't realize that the algorithm is exploiting that and making them put out the worst type of stuff that has hurt many of them and will continue to. They don't belong on these platforms. In other countries, they're not even certain countries like China, for example. They monitor their social media so viciously. You cannot be on TikTok if you are under a certain age. And they have a specific type of TikTok for people under a certain age that doesn't
yes.
have that same algorithm and includes more positive educational content. The United States doesn't want to do that. And I know it ties into freedom of speech, but freedom of speech, even though there's a constitutional right here, and I believe in that right, I do feel that people misuse it, or at least people are hypocritical about it. Because
That is
sometimes
correct.
people only claim freedom of speech when they feel like they're not able to say what the majority wants to hear. But when a minority is speaking, they have no issues taking away people's freedom of speech. So we need to
We
get
gotta
to a
fight
place
that.
where all of those things are available to be seen, and parents need to get their kids off these phones because it's causing issues.
Yeah, get out. And some people say touch grass. That's what they tell
Right.
me.
Go
Touch
play in the
grass.
park. Go touch some grass. Go hug a tree. Just do something other than sit on your phone all day.
Exactly. I can't even go on my phone. I mean, I go on my phone every day, but I don't go on like continuously. My eyes are gonna hurt already. So I'm very, as you know, I'm sensitive to stimuli such as sounds and like if the lights are too bright. Right now the lights are fine, but if I stare at a screen or stare at a phone for long periods of time, it hurts. So
Yeah.
sometimes I
It's
have
not
to
good for your
get
eyes.
away. So, and also, I say find physical activity. And I do that. I say that because it helps with, that you can't just sit down all day. And it's not good for your health. I do volleyball every Wednesday actually, and then I practice prior.
That's
So
good.
that
That's
helps
good.
me get away from, yeah, exactly. Gets me get away from the phone. Even though I'm working, I'm not a professional. I still have to work on my coordination, but I have fun. Sometimes I get a little passionate. I Sometimes the wrong words come out of my mouth. I would scream at the referee and all that, but it's a work in progress. But but yeah, so the algorithm and the rich and the powerful, I mean, what we can do? The best thing to go against it is that we have to have like a really big group, or have this big support. Sometimes you have to really trick the algorithm, and the best way is for us, for everyone, those who are the unforgotten. I mean, I'm sorry, not unforgotten, the
Forgotten. Yep, the
forgotten,
forgotten ones.
the unheard. People give up easily, and I can understand why, because we're in this TikTok age where we want everything fast right now, instant gratification. But a lot of these things, it requires a lot of time and effort, and it's a process. So I tell people, keep sharing, keep liking, keep supporting creators like you. Keep pressing the likes, keep sharing, keep commenting. You don't have to spend money on it. You'll do that later if you want to. Keep sharing, because that if more people keep sharing to other people on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, and all these things, we could tilt the algorithm to the masses. And I think that's what it is. But now, unfortunately, right now, it's really towards those with a big influence, and or those with a lot of money and a lot of power.
Yeah, I will say this. I used to believe that. I used to believe that enough people just supported each other and liked each other's content, that the positive stuff would be put out there on the algorithm. I no longer feel that way, and here's why. I feel as though the people that did grow their platforms, doing the more negative things, the more exploitive things, they're so big now that without them on the platform, the algorithm, the platform itself would cease to exist. It'd be like
Wow.
losing, it would be like losing 80% of the people that own your stock all in one day. It'd be a crash. You know, if the majority of those huge content creators like Kai Sanat and like, well, I don't know what's going on with
Mr.
Mr. Beast, but
Beast?
he was huge too, right? Like if the majority of people like that, let's say they just stop making content one day, the algorithm is not going to know what to do with itself. It's There's going to be so many, like a huge influx of random content people aren't going to be seen, and it's going to crash the entire platform. It's going to crash it. It's going to sink it. So they would need to create a new algorithm entirely to make that happen. And I think maybe even just stray away from the platforms that are there and just make a new platform altogether. You know,
Wow, the algorithm cannot even fix itself.
it's not intended to fix itself in that manner. It's not intended to say, okay, this is the minority, let's turn this into majority. It's intended to go where the majority of people go. And what a lot of us don't realize is that these people that create this content that are hyper popular, a lot of them, whether they realize it or not, are using dark psychology to grab your attention and keep you there.
Wow.
They're using methods to literally keep you entrained on their content, and that's why everything is it's always one step above the last thing. Oh, this new video has to be even more impressive than the last one. We have to do something even crazier. We jumped off a cliff the last one. We're going to jump from a plane this time. You know, it has to keep going up and keep going up and keep becoming more and more impressive to the point where most of that content is entirely fake because they can't do those things anymore. So they have to make fake content to keep being impressive and keep doing the next huge thing to keep people trained on them. But that's a dark psychology tactic. It's dark marketing. They're not putting out things they truly care about or speaking on their their true feelings and opinions. It's a marketing for business. It's all
Money,
money.
money. I was about to say there's a cycle. So when they put and you said it's fake, and I try to tell people it is, and I'm noticing that people who are on social media, when they see other people doing certain things, such as going on trips, going to conventions, which we will talk about in a little bit, uh, these people have a pressure to do that, and then they end up hurting themselves financially, and they're already hurt,
Mhm.
psychologically, so it
Mhm.
just builds on that. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
on my social media, I try my best to be as informative as I can. Of course, I may have a few missteps here and there, like I had one recently, but I
We all
learned
do.
from it, and I apologize from it. But I try to be as informative as I can, and I try to be real about it. That that
Yeah.
I struggle too. Nothing's perfect in our
We're
lives.
humans.
We're
We're human
humans,
beings. Look at
exactly.
that. We make
And you know
mistakes.
what? I think, and plus, perfection. I'm gonna get a quote from Dr. Phil. I'm not a big fan of Dr. Phil, but Dr. Phil says this: perfection in of itself is an imperfection,
Hmm.
which is so weird to say, but it's
It's
actually
not a
true.
concept that exists anywhere.
Exactly.
Not
You
not
know,
among not among organic beings. There's no such thing as a perfect organic being. And if for any other reason, if for no other reason, we die. We die.
that's
If we were perfect, we wouldn't die.
so perfection, or perfection is subjective. Perfect is subjective, like beauty. Everyone
Hmm.
sees beauty differently.
Right.
I tend to see things a glass half full rather than half empty. If you
Right.
think about it. All right, so I always try to see the good things in it. And I'm not saying it's easy, because it's not, because I've gone through that. Because, I'm not saying there's not going to be struggle. There's going to be struggle. There's going to be hardship. I think most important thing, as I said, have a very strong support system. Have someone, that can help you, not just be a yes person. Also say, hey, you know what? Let me be honest with you. This is not right. XYZ. This is what you can learn from it. And I try to do that with my friends. I'm being more informative. I try my best not to show off, except for the cosplays and and the convention, and going to conventions, doing reviews. But that happened to my friend. Actually, I have another friend where I showed that I went to a convention, and he was very he got depressed all of a sudden. And I said, "What are you depressed about?" And then he told me, I'm not able to go to the convention because I had to work. And I told him there's always going to be more conventions. There The conventions are not going to go
Always.
away, especially since we live in New York City. Well, I
Right.
know. Wait, I don't know what part of the city you're in, but
I was born and raised in the
the
Bronx.
Bronx. Okay, good. Because where we first met, we met last year at the Yonkers, not Yonkers, Mount Vernon Public Library Comic Expo. And
That was a great event too.
I missed you there. I know you didn't make it this year, but
Yeah, I couldn't make it this time.
yeah. And I remember you last year. You got an award.
Yes, yeah, I did. I
So
won
yeah,
an
that
award.
was when we met. Hmm.
It was
So
related to Devoyant, but also to Black Maverick Publishing.
yeah. So I thank you again. And so now that you're the CEO of Black Maverick Publishing, and you have this podcast, and now you have the content now, and you're working on your third book. Well, we're going to talk about conventions.
All right, let's do it.
All right. So what was your first convention, or comic event like?
My first comic event, believe it or not, was the Mount Vernon Comic Expo.
Wow,
Yeah, the public. Yep,
I
I've
think it's
only
what
been to a
going on
few.
6 years. I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Has it been 6 years?
Yeah, they said
No.
2018. I think.
Oh, yeah, from 2022, maybe. Not sure.
Oh, my first
It
one
was
was
after
last year.
COVID.
Oh, it was after COVID.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it's directly after COVID. The one that I went to where I won the award, that was the second time that I went. The first time I went, I was a vendor. I hadn't met you then.
Hmm.
It was interesting. So yeah, I think that was like 2022, and then 2023 I won the award. I didn't get to do this one, but anyways, my first experience at a Comic Con was pretty cool because I was there selling Devoyant books and letting people know what it was. And I was getting to see their reactions. Some of them were expected and other ones weren't, but it was still an opportunity to learn. Came to realize that not everybody that goes to a convention is there for positive reasons. You
Wow.
know,
Yeah.
some people there are at conventions for maybe even predatory reasons. So you got to be careful with people. Got to be
Yeah. For
careful.
those who are not in the con scene, very very important. You have to be aware of what's going on. I've seen these things go up ever since COVID.
Yeah, yeah. So that's I didn't know that that was what that was like. You know, as a nerd, as a geek, I thought it was going to be like, oh my god, we just get to go and nerd out. But no, not everybody's there for that. Some people,
Hmm.
most people are, but not everyone. But my overall experience was positive. The news came. I was getting interviewed about the book, and I was meeting with the person that ran the event. She's a wonderful woman.
This is
Um,
Karen.
yes, yes,
She was
she's
there.
awesome. She's
I gave her
awesome.
a hug this year. I saw
I'm
her
going to
like,
be doing an
hey.
event at the MVPL at the end of October. Yeah, it's
Oh,
gonna
what
be
is that
an
event? Maybe
event.
I'll type
It's
it
gonna
there.
be a book event. It's gonna be a book event. I have to check the dates one more time, and I'll let you know.
Oh,
But
okay.
we're gonna be doing, a bit of book reading. Oh,
You're good. You're good. I can hear you.
okay. Yeah,
You're
we're
good.
gonna be doing a bit of book reading. We're also going to be doing, um, I believe it's improv. So we're gonna teach the people that come there how to tell an improvisational story. improvisational story.
Oh wow. When I think of
Yeah.
improv, I think of Whose Line Is It Anyway? Remember that show?
Yeah, I remember that show. It'll be kind of like that. We're just gonna riff off of each other. It'll be a fun experience.
I gotta tell you, even though it's fun, there's an underlying to it for improv. It actually helps you think on your feet. I didn't even
Mm,
think about that.
yes,
It was just
yes.
like you can think really fast and then, so but when you get more experience, you can actually pick other people's brains when you're doing
Mhm.
improv.
Right,
So
right, right. It's
I'll
great for
tell you.
kids.
Yeah, I'll tell you my convention experience. So I don't know if you want to count this as my first convention. My first convention was Sakura Matsuri. This is a cherry blossom festival in the Brooklyn Botanic Garden. I don't know if people want to see that as a convention, but it has a lot of what conventions have. And it was in 2015, and I was there only for the sakura, the cherry blossom. And I saw all these cosplayers, and I said, "Oh my goodness!" And I started taking pictures. And then that same year in Halloween, I started cosplaying, and my first cosplay was Minato, the fourth Hokage from Naruto.
Okay.
Yeah, Naruto what got me through college actually. So Naruto never gave up. I know he gets a little annoying, but the message was there where, I'm gonna be the I'm gonna be the next Hokage. It's like, I'm gonna be a pharmacist. And so I'll be studying while I watch Toonami, and oh my goodness. So I got to where I am, and I spoke to Meili Flanagan, the voice actress for Naruto, and she was touched by it. But anyway, back to conventions. So that was my first, if you want to call it the first. My first actual anime convention was Anime Next. Rest in peace. And I've last time Anime Next was held was last year, but it had some hiatus because of COVID, among other things. Uh, so that's in terms of the nerd stuff. Now, for my pharmacy profession, my first one was 2012 in Javits. It was Pix 11 WPIX Health and Wellness Expo. It didn't take up the entire Javits, but it doesn't matter. So I went there, collect information, went to seminars and all that stuff. I've also gone to conferences or conventions and seminars, and they have similar things as well. So with conventions, they have panels. With conferences, they have seminars. They're basically the same thing. We get badges as well. And we have dealers room and artist alley. You have the with the merch. They also have these big pharma companies when I went to pharmacy conferences. So, I know for a lot of people it can be an overwhelming experience, but when I went there, I think it's because I've been going there for so long. It's like nothing. So what I do is, I know this is a little off topic, but I do my panels for Con Survival. I'm gonna share it. I'm gonna share it. In the coming days, but it's on my YouTube channel. And what I do is I record myself giving presentations on how to attend events, and that includes budgeting, so money, time, and I talk about how to handle your health and all these things. So it puts all my hats together into this one presentation. So I have a hat for being a pharmacist, being in healthcare, mental health, so because I'm autistic and all these things, and the transit part, so help people how to travel, the cosplay part, how to plan with the cosplay, how to go navigate conventions. There's also the money component, with financial literacy. It just goes on and on and on. And the goal here is to make sure people get the most out of a convention, but more importantly, to be safe. To attend it safely.
Right, right. And that's extremely important, especially if you're young, you're going with your friends. This isn't really a convention, but I did attend the Pride Parade as a vendor years ago, right?
Actually, yeah,
So I was
yeah. That
selling,
that even though it's not
I
a
was
convention,
selling.
that's still an event. Yes.
So I was selling some merchandise, and afterward, I was kind of just going around with a couple of friends, and there was a person handing out what everyone here might know as a nutcracker. So it's alcoholic beverage, but it's not something that's in a sealed bottle or anything like that. It's something that a stranger just put together, probably in their house or maybe on the street. and it's super strong and it's supposed to get you really messed up, right? So, I had some friends and they were female friends, and they said, "Oh, let's get some nutcrackers." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, I'm not gonna buy that from that guy. Like that dude looks super shady. He looks like he's gonna open up his trench coat and you're gonna see a bunch of watches. I'm not like, why would I buy something that I have to put in my body? It could be poisonous, or it could have such a high alcohol content that again, alcohol is poisonous in and of itself, but it could do harm to you, you know. And I was
Hmm.
trying to explain to them that yes, we want to have fun. Having fun is important, but there's a way you have fun that helps keep you as safe as possible. You don't want to
Correct.
you don't want to jeopardize your safety for the sake of fun. And I think that people tend
No.
to do that at any event, but Comic Con as well.
Hmm.
Go there with a safety mindset. Go there with a guarded mindset. It's okay to meet people. It's okay to have a good time, but still keep in mind when you're speaking with strangers, this is a person I don't know. I don't know what their true intentions are. I know what mine are, and I know what I'm here for. And as long as everything that you guys do align with what you're there for, it's okay. But when you feel like it's not aligning anymore, it's perfectly fine to step away and say, "Yeah, I'm not comfortable with this," and move on. Don't succumb to peer pressure, and don't just make choices without really thinking it through, because it's so quick. So quickly can things just change for the worst when you're dealing with the public, when you're dealing with strangers. So just have a safety mindset.
Actually, I had a friend who went through that, but it's not in a convention. It was, let's just, in long story short, it was through an app, and he traveled to see the person, and something happened. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, yep, that happens. That happens.
It's a
Whenever it's
one-liner, but I gotta tell you, even though it's outside conventions, it
right,
just takes one decision,
small decision, a
small decision.
quick
You know,
decision, and then boom, that's it.
in this case, it was on an app.
You
I
have to
couldn't believe it.
people. The thing about social media, right? I think that social media has made people so comfortable because they think, "Oh, I've been talking to this person forever," and then they don't realize you've been talking to whoever that person wants you to think they are. It's so much easier to hide who you truly are when you're behind a screen, when you're behind an account. That might not even be the person on that account. You know,
Maybe a
nine
Russian
times out of ten,
hacker.
it's
Who knows?
not. We don't even always. Most of us don't even use our real names on social media. So how can you really truly know a person? You know,
No, you can't unless if you exchange phone numbers, and even that you're probably not going to get the real name anyway, unless if you
right?
meet in person or whatnot. If you take it to the next level, but even that, do it
Even
at your
that,
own
like
risk
if you're gonna meet somebody, go to a meet. First of all, meet in a very, very populated place. Meet in a place
in
where there's lots of
person.
people. It's broad daylight. Nothing shady can happen to you, and there's cameras around. But don't meet a person for the first time on in some secluded place. Have like this intimate date. You don't know that person, and I used to be the type that assumed the best in everyone, but I think that, growing up, I'm 26 now. I've learned to assume the worst. Assume the worst and let them subvert your expectations. You will have much safer and lasting friendships when you do that. But when you assume the best, you quickly will become disappointed. Most people are going to disappoint you in some way, shape, or form. And the last thing you want to do is to assume the best when that person, in fact, is the worst. That's the last thing you want to do because you don't
Wow.
always get out of it. You don't always make it out.
I'm glad my friend made it out. He was able to get out of that situation, but I will say it's a really delicate balancing act. It really
Yes, it
is.
is.
All right, so I agree. Assume the worst. I always tell people is prepare for the worst, hope for the best. That's when it comes to weather.
Yeah.
That's
It's
the
with
other
people
thing, weather.
too.
My mom is making me monitor the weather because we're in a flood prone area, but in a way, I think it's really important that I do that. So if anything occurs, I'll just post it on my stories. But that's another hat that I have, but that's beside the point. But to get to what you're saying, not only assume the worst, but always always go for the more careful, more safe route. Safety first. It's very, very important. And education is also very important too. I think just bring sharing our stories and letting people know, don't make the same mistakes that we make. That will help. That will help improve the quality of life for everybody. That'll help make people make better decisions. And so,
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
most
That's why
importantly,
people's
of
voices should be
course,
heard.
exactly. Most importantly, people will not make the same will likely not make the same mistake as you make. And if they do, they're gonna learn from again. And that's what life is about. It's all about trying to improve, but also always learning and growing as well. So even if you make that one mistake and then you don't learn it the first time, that mistake's going to happen again, and it's going to remind you that, hey, you know what, you got to learn from it. And that's why people say, history repeats itself, because if you don't learn from your mistakes, you're going to you're going to keep making them until you learn from them. At least that's how I see
Yeah.
it.
I know we're wrapping up in a few minutes, but I want
Yes.
to just say one thing for everyone. Speaking of conventions and really just life, right? When it comes to wisdom, there's two types of wisdom you can get: wisdom through the experiences of yourself, your own experiences, and wisdom through other people's experiences. The one that's best to get is the wisdom through other people's, because you don't always want to have to experience something to be wiser about it. Listen to the people around you if you have a support system. Do some research, learn from other people's experiences, the accounts that they tell of doing certain things and the outcomes, so that you can maximize the potential of having positive and safe and fun experiences. That's the best wisdom I can give you. And that's how I live my life. I don't always have to make a mistake, because if I know someone that already did, why do I need to go down that way?
Hence the support system as well, and hence from other people, who you talk to. That's why, in addition to having fun at conventions is a way you can do some icebreakers and actually network. You can pick other people's brains for ideas, or maybe another career. You never know. And I actually talked about it
Never
at
know.
the Con Survival panel. I'm actually going to panel in DerpyCon, but I'll share that later on once I get. That's my little shameless plug. Anyway, we're gonna wrap up. It's great having you. It's really an honor. I know I learned a lot in this stream, in this episode. So
Yeah.
I'm really very honored, and I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for making the time to do this.
Thank you
And
for having me. Thank you for having me.
thank you. And where can we find you? I have the socials showing up.
Oh, yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I don't really do Facebook much, but I'm on Facebook, Hutch Boyd. On Twitter, I'm Comics Maverick. And if you want to support the business, Black Maverick Publishing, you can find us on Twitter, well, X. You can find us on Instagram, all those other platforms, either at Black Maverick Comics or Black Maverick Books. And as far as the podcast, go to YouTube, check out the Maverick Talks, the Black Maverick Talks show. We talk about sci-fi, everything sci-fi. All right, books, movies, shows. We get into comics and all that stuff. So check us out, and yeah, just support the process, support the journey.
And where will you be going next in the event? In
My
whichever
next
event?
event,
Yeah, which events? Which
it's
upcoming events?
My next event is going to be in Staten Island at the Everything Goes Book Cafe on October 6th. I will be there at 2 o'clock p.m. I'm going to be drawing people as superheroes, as well as doing a reading of Devoyance and signing some books. My next event after that will be at the Mount Vernon Public Library. Again, I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but it's toward the end of October. And yeah, I'm going to be doing some improv, teaching students about that, as well as doing some readings of Dubois as well.
All right. So thank you so much again, Hutch. All right. Check him out. He's on Instagram, Hutch Boyd. I'm gonna post it again here, Hutch Boyd on Instagram, and watch him on YouTube for the Black Maverick Hawks podcast. And stay tuned for an upcoming episode, since he just came from working on an episode today in Long Island.
Yeah. Yep. Stay
All
tuned for the
right.
next episode. We drop Monday at
Yes.
5 p.m.
Monday at 5 p.m. And thank you again. I hope to see you soon in person. It's been great having you, and I learned a lot from you.
Thank you
And
for
I
having
hope you
me.
keep inspiring other people
Thank
like
you.
me. You've inspired me already, and I hope you inspire more and more people. And I hope the best, and I hope many successes for your brand and for your company.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
You'll go
much. Can't
far.
wait to meet you again.
Yes, we will. All right, this is Let's Meet on Twitch, episode 4, and stay tuned for the next one. I'll be on Instagram. It's on Wild Goldine up here. It's if you're watching, there's a subway, New York City subway thing over there, and I'll catch you real soon. See you. Bye bye.
Later.